Response video to the Modern Mystic. I'll try anyway. So we played a clip that, when I said it, I was a little, like, whoa, I shouldn't have said it that boldly. I basically plays a clip where I basically say I can control anything that's going on in my body. Basically, the functionality is all controllable by these highest order reflexes, the intelligent memes, the knowledge memes, the principle memes, the conceptions have the ultimate authority. They're the door in and the door out. They're the first thing that sees reality, so to speak, as it comes in, and they're the last thing that say, okay, this is okay behavior. They have the last word on what behavior is going to be, in a sense, where we can be dictated to by some pattern of thought, some idea, a schedule even, and we can read it on a piece of paper and it says, well, at 10 o'clock I'm going somewhere. Whether my body wants to or not, I'm going to go. I'm going to initiate the action. And that's just the way it is. And so that's sort of what we can do. We function as this top level saying to the bottom levels, well, you're just going to have to wait, okay? There's a bathroom in 10 miles, okay? You're going to have to just hold it. We can do that. I said it a little boldly, but yeah, we can control most of it. We can even control our emotions substantially. I mean, I could get a phone call right now, be told something horrible has happened to somebody I care about, and in a way, I can completely manipulate how I'm going to emotionally react. I can catch myself, so to speak. A program can notice you're emotionally reacting, you're crying, you're upset. Well, look at it this way. You can't control it. You didn't have anything to do with it. This was inevitable anyway. They're going to die somehow. Something bad's going to happen to somebody. Should it be them, or should it be them, or should it be them? It doesn't make any difference who gets it. We all know this is the odds of playing the game. We all know this is the risk of the game, is that people have, gas trucks drive into their house. This is it. So it happens to you. Why are you surprised, asshole? I mean, I can mitigate against a lot of it by my brain programming, saying I have some narratives I can throw at you. I have some stories I can tell you to give you context. So we could talk about this last brain. It's the context brain, the meme brain, the idea brain. And I sort of wanted to get into that subject, and I keep missing it. I keep getting close to the subject, and I keep falling. Like I tailed off at the end of my last video, because I was talking about how genes are really just segments of code that are competing with each other on the DNA molecule itself, and how inside of that there's probably actual molecules of hydrogen and carbon and oxygen all competing with each other for space and attachments and associations, in a sense. So it's just these levels of this competition move out and move into different realms or schemes that we identify as a different scheme. And we're on this level of scheme, and we see this kind of competition between events and happenings and what goes on based on behavior and the agenda of all these other schemes. They're the ones doing the cooking, and we're just doing I'm overdone. I'm burnt. I got some carbon on my ass. Right, I'm not. Metaphor is getting too distant from reality. But anyway, so I'm back to this selfish gene kind of Dawkins idea that it's the genes that are evolving, and in our brain, these ideas are competing with each other. So let's say there's 4 personalities. And they start off with nothing, and then they just acquire word attachments, and they become theme-oriented. But it could be 16, or it could be 0, it could be 1. It could be just one personality, and you can create a mechanism whereby it reacts to itself. It creates its own conscience and its own negative, greedy force, and, you can make all the personalities be on one linear thing, or you can make them compete with each other, or your foot and your hand and your elbow can all have votes, and they all vote what your belly button will do. So anyway, what I'm going to argue is that this higher order brain, this last brain, this final brain. You know, it's just seeking this. There's programs running, and all they're seeking is this anything that says don't do that. And then it's going to do this dissidence thing. It's going to do this competition thing. It's going to say, wait, we have to think a little more. We have to recycle this a bit because we have to find out whether this is a good idea or a bad idea. And so he used the cliche analogy of a rape or something like that. And you know, in the past, we would have been apprehensive merely about whether there's any witnesses, probably, you know, or any way that the owner of the property I was going to violate could possibly see what I was going to do. That might have been the only thing that we would look out for, like a cat, you know, as it's in some other cat's territory, and it's just looking around and seeing, making sure nothing's around, so it can sneak some wildebeest or whatever it's going to steal from the territory. Yeah, and that would be the mindset. It would be the simple, I gotcha game that it's playing. And now we play a much more sophisticated game, because now we'll calculate the implications, prison, is there any physical evidence, is there any photographs, is there tape recording, is there a cell phone call. You know, we plan our crimes, you know, in a much more nuanced and complex way. So yeah, there'd be a different equation, but there'd also be a different moral equation, because now we can have an idea. Like in the past, you probably kind of lived life through your eyes, like an animal would. You're not really realizing that the other cats are feeling creatures, or the other animals you're eating are feeling creatures. You really don't have any of that knowledge. You're just kind of living through your experience and how you taste them and how they affect you personally. And you're not really thinking about them in some sort of projected way where you're imagining, you know, bigger worlds, bigger context again. And that's really the key to this whole thing, is that we can not only we can see the past, and we can see its performance and its tendencies, and then we can imagine the future. And we're seeing those models superimposed on everything, and those models are incredibly constructive to our behavior. They're incredibly enlightening in terms of giving us understanding and context. And then we can even come up with a mental metaphor for our life and say, okay, we're in a maze game, and we're just A rat, and that's B rat, and that's C rat, and that's D rat, and all the rats are the same. And we can sort of understand that A rat, even though I'm A rat, he isn't a better rat, he isn't a more deserving rat, he isn't a more sensitive rat. And so it doesn't matter which rat my brain functions to say which one will win. It doesn't really care about winning, it just cares about not losing all of a sudden. It's about minimizing losses and cutting down the damage, because it doesn't see any purpose in a gladiator game. It doesn't see any purpose in the 4 rats being reduced to 1 rat at the end. It's sort of saying there'd be more purpose in somehow the 4 rats getting to the end. And so that becomes a theme, an idea in its head. And so now it's not living as a singular rat anymore. It has a context put on its existence. It's saying there's more to your life than this thing you're feeling. There's these other things that are feeling. And so you can come up with some simple jargon like do unto others as you'd have others do unto you, or some other theme or statement or cliche that describes that meme. But that meme is powerful and controlling once it's an idea enforced by one of these personalities, and once there's no other personality in your brain objecting and saying, well, that's illogical. Now, for you, one of your personalities is saying, well, it's just mattering. The illusion of consciousness is an illusion. The suffering, maybe it isn't even anything. It's not even a thing. It's just something. It's just a notion in the head. And so that's that as an argument. I mean, if the other programs don't say call bullshit on that, as a theme is going to make it pretty comfortable inside your world, because now the context is it all doesn't matter. So there's no real harm. You know, my context, put in there by the themes that I've accepted, the knowledge base and the truths I've accepted, is that no, this consciousness thing is significant. We've experienced it. It sucks. We know it would double suck if I had cancer. It would triple suck if I had a brain tumor and cancer and bad eyesight and I was bald and impotent. Oh man, then it would really triple, double, quadruple suck. So I can understand how sucky the suck could be, incredibly sucky. And I'm saying that's really, I mean, this suck is bad enough. I'm saying, wow, I don't even go any near that suck. Because my radium detector, or my, detector of the suck, goes off the scale just imagining certain levels of suck. And so I'm saying this is an important theme here, this suck avoidance. This is important stuff. And so all my players, all my dwarves, all my instrumentality of memes I've accepted are all tied to this base knowledge that, it's a round world hurling around a sun. There's little beasties on it, and now the beasties have consciousness, which means now they can feel, and now they can be harmed. Where before, it didn't matter whether they blew up, it didn't matter what the hell they did, because they didn't feel anything. Well, now they feel. It's goddamn important. And, that's got to be the priority, man. Let's minimize that ouch stuff. Let's minimize the screaming and the hollering and the holy shit awfuliness. And they're all agreed. All the dwarfs are saying, yeah, I get that. I get that. They're all saying, I get that. And all yours are saying, I don't get it. Oh, yeah, you're right. Doesn't matter. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how your brain does that. I don't know how you get memes in your head where you understand what life is, where it came from, how it evolved, and you personally experience this sensation thing, and you just say, yeah, it's just an illusion, fuck it. I mean, I just don't get it. I can't get it. It just won't fit in my brain. I can't make it fit, no matter how I twist it or bend it or look at it. I can put it in the kaleidoscope and do all kinds of things to it, and I still can't friggin' make any sense out of that. Every bit of evidence points to the fact that this must mean something. And there's no evidence saying it's nothing, except some theoretical idea that because it's a projection made inside of a brain, therefore it's nothing, because it's an illusion, or it's something that the brain created. Well, how does that mean it doesn't have meaning or value? How does that mean that performance, that thing that is happening because I'm experiencing it, isn't a thing? Well, it's obviously a thing because I'm experiencing it, so I can't call it a non-thing. It's a something. And once I say it's something, I have to admit it's qualitative reality, because it's shouting it. It's saying, I'm here, I'm something, I'm something frickin' important. Okay, all the other matter in the universe doesn't mean shit. Well, that needle's going in my eye. Where else do I go with this? So yeah, I mean, when I'm talking about the control mechanism, it's just that, like I'm just saying that these are these higher reflexes that are basically reflexes to words. We could almost argue. We have definitions for each word. They trigger a response in our brain that we associate. Like somebody says the word destructive, my brain will say war. It'll associate the word destructive with inefficient and waste and fire and boom and gloom and doom. That's what it does with that word. It has this whole connected mechanism. And then it'll eventually also tie it to images and tie it to a theme. So it'll awaken certain programs that are in me, meme programs of passion. Because all of a sudden, well, I got to perk up now because I'm the good guy. And the good guy who's always wondering and worried about this suffering thing. And this is a suffering subject. So if somebody says destructive, the suffering guy perks up because that's a word he's got to worry about. And so he starts analyzing it and saying, well, is there something I can do here? Do I have some purpose here? Do I have some ability to fix anything or do anything? And the conclusion might be, no, we can take care of it because it's just a word game. We're just going to have this philosophical back and forthy crappy, so there's nothing you can really do. So just settle down. Don't get emotive about it, because we've got this harder job of, coming up with these intellectual string of words that are going to go fly into another brain and somehow, bounce around in there and fix the cue balls in the other brain that are, flying in all kinds of wacky directions where they don't see suffering as a big, loud, screaming horror of the universe. So again, but it's ideas. These ideas are competing inside of us, and which ones stick sort of depends on how you do that maturation thing, how you progressively build. And some people rebuild. They have some catastrophic thing happen in their life or some big event, and they rebuild, they reconstruct, and all of a sudden they might have been a selfish person before, and they pop out of the event as somebody who has a whole different orientation. And now the filter through which they view, the context through which they view the world has now been altered and changed. And now the things that will stick, the things that will be of interest to them, the things that will pique their curiosity is now altered because the foundation has been changed. The structure has been changed. The net, it catches a different kind of bug. All right, we weave a different kind of web of understanding, and it catches different kinds of ideas because of that. But that's evolving. And through the human race, we make these logical arguments, and they have to survive our dwarfs, our entire knowledge base, our understanding of science and logic and physics and all these disciplines of thought. And, we just keep gleaning and cleaning the arguments and making them, like I said, as dirt simple as do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. We keep turning them into cliches and sound bites and bits of wisdom to live by. And we are throwing them back and forth, and the whole idea is to get to this thing of truth in the end. And so, but there's a whole lot of brains that have a bunch of silly dwarfs in them, that all they've done is watch cartoons on TV. And they have no real notion of what logic is. They just go by some kind of simple thing like, however fiery your death is decides how important you are. Or how well you throw a stick in the air and catch it, that decides how great you are. I mean, they have silly notions that they're measuring the world by because they've never had that reconstruction. They've just stayed an immature cartoon brain who's waiting for some Bugs Bunny event or something to take place. And the whole delusion of the God delusion. I mean, a complete idiotic fairy tale is now the construct that the person's living in. They're living in an imagined world that doesn't exist, of complete fake reality, of fake morality, of where a God waves his finger at you and says, don't do that. And you just do it because God says so. You just dislike it because God says to dislike it. You don't have to rationally justify anything. You don't have to explain anything. You just do it because it makes sense to God, so it makes sense to me. Or whatever the bullshit would be. So once these bad ideas, invade a conceptual sense, it's completely perverted and distorted and broken. It doesn't have any hope of doing anything reasonable because it has no reasonable foundation. It can't do logic anymore because it isn't oriented to do logic. It's just oriented to validate dogma or validate bullshit or validate Joan Rivers says so, or whatever the fucking thing is, some kind of dopey addiction. Whatever's good for the New York Yankees is good for America, or some kind of crap, absolute crap that they live by. Capitalist good, communist bad. They don't go any further than that. So they just start seeing everything as either red or blue, and good blue good, red bad, or however it goes. What else do I got to say on this? But the competition is just about that objection thing. All you need is one program in there just to raise its hand and go, I don't know, Davy. This old show, Davy and Goliath, and the dog would always go, I don't know, Davy. And I use this example a lot because I grew up with that dog in my head just going, I don't know, Davy. And that's all you need is that one voice just to slow you down and force you to defend what you're doing. To look at what you're doing and say, am I just making a rationalization? Am I just making excuses? And you can see it. If you look, you'll see your brain doing it. You'll see the little conniving, game-playing little schemers in there, manipulating reality, give you a license to do something you wouldn't give license to somebody else to do. And it's that simple. And you'll see the hypocrisy. You'll recognize something, once in a while one of those programs will do a little logic and they'll say to you, you really do seem to care more about your family than you do these other people. Why is that? Or people of your color, or people of your nation, or people of your cultural comfort zone, or whatever the thing is. People of your height, or people of your eye color. I mean, whatever the thing is, and you'll see the hypocrisies, and it'll just say, well, you know, that's sort of a hypocrisy, and then it'll say, yeah, well, that's it, though. Isn't that how we learn? We learn that this is the truth, because we can see that we're guilty of the same crime. So that makes it so obvious that the crime exists. But the process is just like the process I went through when I had some minor sports addiction. And I just got rid of it so easy, just by words in my brain. My brain spoke some words, and I said, holy shit, you're right, it's fucking idiotic. And then it was over. I mean, once my brain understood that it was stupid, it said, oh, why would I do something stupid? It's overtly stupid to give a shit about this crap. It's the most unimportant thing in the universe. It's crap. What am I wasting one neuron on these assholes for? And so that's what I mean by the power. The memes have the power to control, to create a context that can make you hungrier for love or less hungry for love. It can make you, it can manipulate the animal in you, the world the gorilla's living in, and ultimately the world the lizard's living in. It can manipulate and change those worlds for those beasties that live inside of us, and so it can do the programs, the ideas, can do this reconfiguration of perspective. I guess that's the word. Memes change perspective, and that change in perspective will change the reactions. And yeah, that's probably enough of a video. So I hope that was satisfactory in terms of answering your question and such. And so we'll move on to the next thing and such.